Welcome, everyone. We are live. I am excited. I'm excited. My name is Imfan Akpan. Again, they call me the professor. Why? I am a professor. So I'm an accounting professor, and I'm excited to be here as promised. So as promised, we would come back. This is a part two. This is a meeting of the minds. We've got the great ones here, the great brains, the great thinkers here, and most importantly, we have you here to listen and to gather and to share. As promised, we have the CEO, Gael Gadah of Maoni, to talk about his company, the state of DeFi investing. I've got Underdog Crypto. I've got Black Rule Investing here. Ask questions, bouncing the ideas, and really, really flowing with the information. So I'm going to open this up to the CEO himself to introduce himself, tell you about his company and what he's doing. And then we're going to open up for questions.
Thank you so much, Professor. Very happy to be here and with all of you, Underdog and Black Rule. Again, I am the founder of Maoni, which is a digital bank on a mission to allow access to credit and funding to everyone and anyone, regardless of credit score and regardless of income level. How is that possible? Through this very concept of DeFi or DeFi banking. And what does that mean? That means we're allowing people and businesses to save together, to give loans and even credit cards to one another, and of course, allow them to invest in one another. As opposed to the traditional bank that takes your savings and use those same savings to give loans to people or businesses you don't know, you don't care about, we're allowing you, people and businesses, to save together, give loans and credit cards to one another, and of course, invest in one another. And that is DeFi banking, and that's what Maoni is building. And my name is Gael Gadah, and I'm the founder of Maoni. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that intro. And I have this question. I always wonder, we talked about banking, talked about the company, but why DeFi and why is DeFi so important?
Yeah, so that's a very good point, actually. Why DeFi? Why is it so important? And I always say DeFi has been around for a very long time. The actual very first form of finance was DeFi, or decentralized finance. If you remember in the old days, how did we used to get funding, or if you want a loan? There were no banks in the old days, right? So if you need a loan, you go to see your friends or family member to get a loan from the person. That is DeFi. That is decentralized finance. People interacting with one another, giving loans to one another, giving loans to the local businesses, and so far and so forth. And then banks came in, and banks said, no, we will stop that thing. We will not be the middleman between you and whoever you want to give a loan to. We will not be the middleman between you and your investment target. And they are charging all kind of fees for that. And that's what banks do. And now, luckily, now we have good technology, which we are calling a blockchain technology, which is helping us go back to the old days, but do it in a more efficient manner. And what is it? That's what DeFi is. Now again, we are able to give loans, credit cards, or invest in the people that matter to us, in the businesses that matter to us, and do that in a very efficient manner. No questions asked, in just one click. And that's what DeFi is, allowing people and businesses to save together, loans one another, and invest in one another. Did I answer your question, Professor?
You did. And when you say this, that is very important. But how is this, when we talk about DeFi, we think about crypto. Is this geared toward the average person, just the person on the street? Is this something my grandma, my mom, someone would be able to use or to get into?
That's a very good point. crypto, most of the crypto platforms that are around right now are not the most friendly platforms or the most user-friendly platforms. And so the goal for any very conscious company that's coming to market right now will be to make the platform as easy to use, as user-friendly as possible. And that is what is at the forefront of our company. We want to make DeFi or decentralized finance, even better, decentralized banking, accessible to everyone. And the only way we can make it accessible to everyone is if anyone and everyone can just in one click get a loan, just in one click give a loan, just in one click access their finances. And that is the very goal of Mawoni. That is what we are building at Mawoni.
Awesome, thank you. Shook, I'm gonna go to the gentleman here, but Shook Focus has a question in the chat. So in talking decentralized, is there something in place to address language barriers?
Well, you know what? I'm so happy, Gael, that you said that DeFi is what it is. Like everybody thinks of these terms, and like everybody invents these new terms, like networking, like making friends. You know what I mean? Like it's not this big, huge giant on a hillside that you got to slay. You know, DeFi just goes back to barter and trade. Like, you know, like maybe you got some goat milk and I got this fur, and we're just gonna, we're gonna barter and trade for it. The banks are really the ones who came in and it's introduced interest and a whole bunch of other things that put fees and such a drag on people. And it's just nice to see that Mawoni is going to try to do something, because there is a language barrier, like Shook was saying, with wallets and whatnot. So it would be nice to try to cut that out. But the next thing I see is like the banks don't like that, right? So they're going to try to come in and put in regulations and things to try to make that hard. And I guess my question to Gael is, what's his answer to that?
Yes, about the regulation side, right?
Yep. Like, what's your answer to that? Because banks are not going to like not getting their cut, and they're going to try to make it hard for you to just make it easy for people. So how do you combat that? Like, what's your answer there?
So that's a very good point, actually. I think one thing in the industry right now is everybody is agreeing that DeFi is the future of finance. And if you see every news title, that's the very first thing. DeFi, it always comes, the next sentence or the next words that comes after DeFi is the future of finance. Look at all the articles. It's always like that. The point I'm making here is that banks also understand it.
Okay.
Now, look at banking. You were talking about a company that has probably thousands of employees that have traditional infrastructures in place. And for them to transform that infrastructure that they've put already billions into and make it a DeFi, that would just be years of work for them. Just for a bank to move from one ERP system to another one, that takes them a long time. And now transforming all their infrastructure into a very new one, that's years for them. And so what most of the banks are doing, from what I've seen or heard so far, they are trying to invest in the smaller companies who are, bringing up these innovations into the market. Now, DeFi is at that intersection where no one can stop it, right? It's just where the industry is moving to. No one can stop it. And there are actually regulations that are coming that are actually being more favorable to DeFi in the whole blockchain environment, right? So that's what I can say. Banks will take a long time to follow this race. And the easiest way for them will be to invest or to acquire the smaller players so they can, also be part of the race at this time.
Got you. So what I'm hearing from you is like, if you can't beat them, join them. And since they can't like stop it, it's better for them to just join you guys. You guys already kind of have the expertise. And for them, instead of having this years of red tape, it's easier for them to kind of join you guys who already have the expertise and do it that way.
And they are already doing it, just like you said. They are already doing it. Yeah.
right,
That's interesting. Bro, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that was my question. I'm good.
Yeah.
Is it, you saying banks are already doing that? Is it more of a build or is it more of a buy type of play? On the bank side?
It's more of a buy type of play because it's just going to take them a long time to build this, or at least to convert their whole banking system, their traditional system, into this. Look, they have a core banking system that they are using, and they have all kind of layers on top of that. And they've already invested millions and millions in those infrastructure. Why do you think it was hard for banks to move just to online banking? It took them quite some time, just because they have a certain infrastructure in place, and for them to just follow the next trend is not that easy. Yeah. So yes, to your point, it's more of a buy type of deal for them, where they are buying the new players or investing in the new players instead of just converting all their infrastructure into a decentralized infrastructure.
So when you talk about, we get into banking, we've got things like KYC, know your customer. And really, when I think about a bank, it's not a government, it's not part of the government, but it's regulated so heavily that it's under government, it's tied to the government because it's regulated so deep. How is that going to impact the DeFi business? So if banks are getting into the business, is that going to change really what you see as your core mission, or will that make you stand out, against what was happening in the banking side?
So that's a very good point. That's a very good point. But there's a big difference between a bank, a traditional bank, the Chase, the Key Bank, the Huntington that we know, and an upcoming bank, a DeFi digital bank like Maoni. What's the big difference? The big difference is the network. The big difference is the arsenal of professionals that are already working in those banks. The big difference is the level of funding. So the point I'm making here is, if banks join this race of DeFi, that will even more accelerate this whole race. Banks are highly regulated. Digital banks are just as much regulated. DeFi is getting its regulations also in place. And it's not because we are a decentralized digital bank that we are not regulated. No, we are just as regulated. We have to follow all the financial services regulations just as much as banks do. So there's not, it's not a safe place. It's not it's not a non-regulated space when you are in DeFi. It's also regulated. For instance, if you want to open a bank account, you have to go through all those KYC processes, just like banks do. All the compliance processes, you have to abide by all those processes. So the answer that I'm bringing here is that, yes, we are also regulated just as much as banks are, but we have a different business model. That's the whole point.
You know what, I have one other question.
Yeah.
I was doing some research into a couple coins yesterday. One coin's called Proppy, another coin's called Origin Trail.
Yeah.
And basically, Proppy, what they're doing is they're doing like real estate via NFT.
Yeah.
And it made me think of money because, like, okay, if they do real estate via NFT, then what if somebody wants to have a mortgage? Then, that's kind of like almost like doing a loan via NFT. And this company, Origin Trail, they were talking about kind of doing like a refi on a Tesla, but putting that via NFT. Is that something that Money's looking into? And then I was just wondering, then what happens? Like, I know we talk about over collateralization before, but then what happens if you have to actually send out someone for repoing it? Like, what are the laws there? Like, how does all of that muck work?
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. And to agree on everything you just said, yes, Tesla, for instance, is releasing their next generation of cars as NFTs, right? And there are just so many marketplaces out there that are already dealing with NFT for real estate and NFT for cars. So it's just a movement; it's already there already.
Yeah.
And in the case of Maoni, yes, we are doing the same thing, which is we are allowing people. Not everybody has the crypto collateral. Not everybody has a stock or a bond to be used as collateral. And most people have a car, a house, you name it. So we are allowing them to convert those physical asset, house or car, into a digital asset, an NFT, which they can use as collateral. But now, when they default on the loan, what does that mean? That means if I pledge an NFT that's worth 50,000 for a loan of 25,000, if I default on the loan, that means now my NFT, half of my NFT is owned by the lender. So that's the first thing that will happen, which is there will be you will get ownership in my house, or you get a piece of ownership in my car.
Yeah.
Now, if you are the total owner of the car, then yes, there will be a repossession, which you will come and take the car. So there are two levels of it, which is the shared ownership. You are getting ownership in that property or in that physical asset. And that's the next level, which is in case you happen to be now the full owner of that property.
Sorry, guys. Somebody has some feedback where it's
Yeah.
making it a little hard for me to hear Gael. All right, thank you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So to summarize it, yes. So when you have an NFT as collateral, there are two things that can happen. The first thing, which is the collateral is worth a lot more than the amount of the loan. So the first thing is you end up getting a piece ownership in that NFT. That means we look at that NFT. That NFT is worth 50,000, but you own 50% of it. I own 50% of it. But now the second thing that can happen is that you end up owning the whole NFT. And in that case, the whole property becomes yours. So you if it's a car, you come take the car. If it's a house, you own the house. You can sell it to whatever you want to do with it. Now there are a few regulations that kind of make it easy or less easy to go around. For instance, you can necessarily take you take a house, for instance, in which there is an elderly person. You can necessarily repossess that house because the person default on the loan. So there are those few specifications that we have to work around as industry, as company. But other than that, is a free movement. But there are those few specifications. You can take the house of somebody who's too old. If there's a newborn in the company, in the house, you just can't repossess the house right away. Those are just laws that are in place, and it makes sense. So both the lenders and borrower have to really work around that. And that's something we are on the clock working around too.
Gotcha. So it's pretty much like the same regulations that a normal repossess would be. So in that same token, would there be I know sometimes so I'm also in the stock world. So if I have an option, I have a stock option and I think it's going to expire worthless, I can kind of roll it out to kind of give it more time to make it worth something. So if I think I'm going to be okay, I'm going to miss my payment or something, is there an option to kind of roll out my loan payment so it's a little bit longer, but maybe I pay something extra, something just to give me more time because my dog just died and I'm, distraught that month or whatever, and I can't make the payment.
That's actually a very good
pet, so I didn't bring a real person in it, make somebody real sad. But go ahead.
And I get your point, and that's a very good point actually. And those are some of the specific points that we are addressing in our DeFi model. And yes, the first way we are addressing that, if you default on your loan today, it doesn't mean you are your collateral will be repossessed right away. No, right? The first thing we do is we are calling it payback features or reimbursement features. Those are features that work with the borrower to help the borrower reimburse the loan easily. I can give you two of those features right now. One of them, we call it mini installment. What does that mean? That means I get a loan from you. I'm supposed to be paying $300 per month. Now, instead of waiting for the end of the month to make the $300 disbursement, which might not always be the most budget-friendly action for most people, Maoni is going to take $1 or $2 out of your account every day, if you agree to that. So by the end of the month, you will have all those 300 ready for the lender, because it's easy to lose $1 or $2, or it's easy to spend it, but it's not easy to spend $300. So we have exactly, that's one feature, mini installment. We have various features like that to help the borrower reimburse the loans easily. Now, this is common in banking industry. If you default on your loan the first time, I mean, you can always get the option of flexible payment, whereby you can skip a pay, skip 2 pays, up to 3 pays, whereby you can adjust your payment schedule for at least 3 months. So those are options that we are incorporating into our functionalities, so people can really enjoy and have those flexibility in dealing with the in dealing with the borrowers, or in dealing with the lenders. Again, to summarize it, your collateral it's not taken away right away. But there are those features that work with you in the first place to make it easy for you to reimburse the loans. But then, in case all those features don't conclude, we have another process, which is the collection process. A collection agent can call you and try to collect the amount. And in case that final step doesn't conclude, that's when we'll transfer the collateral to the lender, as you agreed on during the lending process or during the contracting process. Yeah.
Yep.
Did I address your question, Black Room?
Oh yeah, totally, completely. Thank you so much.
Of course. Yeah. I think Underdog hadn't come into the conversation yet.
Wait.
I want to make sure the professor had time to respond. So go ahead, Professor.
Well, I see you got some things in the chat. So I did have one quick question. And I heard repossession. I heard home. And there's a difference between a repossession and a foreclosure. And when you talk about, a home, you've got a deed, and the homeowner holds the deed, and there has to be a court process called a foreclosure, if someone has a lien on it. So, and a repossession means the person who's giving the loan holds title, and they're taking what's theirs already. So I didn't understand how that would work with the NFT. If I hold the deed, will that NFT have a lien on my deed, or will I have to give up my deed, or something? How would that work? And then with that, if there's no lien, I mean, if I'm borrowing $50,000 from you, what's going to stop me from going somewhere else? I've got a clear title and borrowing another $50,000, and then that was my question. And then Underdog, is yours.
Yeah, of course. I can address that question very quickly and clearly. So the whole point about the NFT is that you don't have your deed anymore. Your deed becomes the NFT. And then if you give me that NFT, if the NFT is transferred to me, then I'm the owner of the house, and now I own that deed. So what is being stored on the NFT? It is the deed, the ownership of the house. It's moving from the paperwork that you have to the digital token that you have still, but now it's online, it's digital. So it's just a movement that is being done. Everything is moving from the paper arena to the digital arena. The ownership of your house becomes that token. And if you happen to send it to someone else, the person becomes the owner of the house. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. All right, Underdog, did you want me to put some of the slides in, or?
No, I'm sustained. You have a hard stop in 5 minutes. It wouldn't do the conversation justice to provide the CEO a limited amount of time to respond. So there's no reason to put it up. So I'll just sustain.
Okay.
The
Did you have
problem-
any question?
No questions for me.
Okay.
Yeah, probably one of the things I can share right now is that, and this is to all everybody watching us right now, very happy to have you all here. And what is that? That we are now opening through we are now raising capital through the crowd. That means anyone can invest in Mahoney at this very time as we are speaking. We just finally launched it 2 days ago, the day before yesterday, 2 days ago. And if you go right now on wefounder.com/Mahoney, you will see everything. So right now, as I'm speaking, we are raising through the crowd. We used to raise only through VCs and angel investors, but now we are raising through the crowd. So anyone can invest. The minimum investment possible is $100. So very, very crowd friendly. So that's probably the one last information I would like to share with everyone and anyone out there watching us at this time.
Awesome. And I want to be respectful of the time. We've got about 3 more minutes. I want to say this, Underdog's got some slides, some videos. So that means we got to have one more. We didn't get a chance to, Underdog didn't get a chance to share the information. So can I get, we're going to do this again?
I'll always be down so long as it's Underdog. I'll be happy to be down.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I won't ask so many questions next time. My bad, brother.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You know, it's really a pleasure to be with all of you here, Professor Blackrow, Underdog, and I've been enjoying this time that we are spending together. I think there's one thing which is give the information to the people. There's another thing which is this community of sharing information, this community of cultivating the new knowledge or the new technology information, sharing it with everyone. And I think that's what we are doing here. So beyond everything, this is so important, and I'm very happy, and I'll always be happy to be part of this conversation. So thank you all actually for being here today also.
Professor, you don't mind, I do want to say one thing though.
Sure.
Okay. One thing I would like to do, the CEO that you see here today, this is not rehearsed. He didn't know what questions I'm going to ask. He doesn't know what questions Blackrow is going to ask. He doesn't know what a question that the professor is going to ask. Now, I commend the CEO for doing that, because we live in a place where disinformation and also people are not willing to ask questions. In fact, I just recently had a conversation with a CEO of another company, and they started to look at sharing of information as a negative thing. It's actually not. When you have a person who's competent enough to come onto a panel to get any question without knowing what the nature of the question is and answer those questions, I applaud that behavior. Now, I can't tell you from my standpoint, I didn't ask any technical questions today, and I believe that we should have a conversation to ask technical questions, or things that people would like to know who want to understand the technical aspects of the project, because that's what crypto is a blockchain project. But I will say, as far as leadership standpoint, I personally put a lot of credit and faith in anyone who's willing to be considered coming to a panel, being faced by experts, and be willing to answer questions without knowing what those questions are. It's not a railroad, but what it is shows that the person's confident and the least the knowledge they have. And this is what it's supposed to be about. Not about tearing down a company or project. We don't know anything about this project. The project has not gotten here yet. This is for information so that you as an investor will have the information you need to make up your own mind whether or not you're going to invest in a project. And that's the problem with crypto and blockchain, is too many investors are ill-informed because they don't ask. And we have to change that narrative. This might be the next Apple. You don't know until the questions are asked. So I just want to say to you, thank you for allowing yourself to come here as a CEO. Thank you for representing your company professionally. And I hope that we do have a part two. I would like to offer that. There's a few things I have according to flash loans and other things such as arbitrage attacks, things that people are like myself as an investor would ask before I put my money onto any project. So I just want to bring that to your attention, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Super nice words, actually. And of course, I'll be happy to come back again so we can have more conversation as many times as possible. So thank you also. Yeah.
Yeah, that is good. Thank you, Underdog, and thank you, Black Root. Thank you, CEO. And that is the spirit of having this conversation and bringing this together. So I believe in that one idea. And just hearing this, listening to the conversation, we've got people in the chat talking about it. We talk about investing, but it can also inspire someone to do the same thing that you're doing, or to do something else, or to work on a different project. So it can give encouragement to others, or encourage those who are interested in crypto, because that was a good point. People might be nervous about crypto, but just hearing us sit here and talk about it, it may ease and encourage someone to do some more research and to learn more about it. So this is really great, positive vibes, great broadcast. Really quick before we go, Underdog, how can people get in touch with you?
All right, thanks, folks. Appreciate you. If you are trying to get in contact with me, you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, and Telegram, all under Underdog Crypto or Underdog Crypto 1. You'll see my logo, and it'll be in my videos. Make sure there's our copycats who have my name, so make sure you look for videos, links in the description. You should see my face or my logo, and you can find my Telegram there too. Thank you.
Awesome. Black Root.
You can catch me on www.darkhorsewatcher.com. All one word, links directly to my YouTube, where you can like and subscribe. You can catch me on the Benzinga channel Mondays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and on the Gentlemen of Crypto Network, 6 o'clock Pacific Time, Thursdays.
Awesome. Gael Gadah.
One single address, Milenext.com, MILLE, next, NEXT.com. Everything is there, Milenext.com.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen. Shout out to Shook Focus Digital. Check him out as well. Thank you so much. And